Not much is known about the national human rights institutions. Most of the time, people refer to national human rights institutions as civil society, but we occupy a specific position within the countries that we belong to. We are a bridge of some sort between the states and civil society. We are also a bridge between the states and the United Nations system. Most of the national institutions have legislative mandates. The ICC currently has 91 members that come from the different regions, Africa, Asia Pacific, Europe, and the Americas. In the past 5 years, the national human rights institutions have gained a lot of recognition within the UN. And I think I mention this because we are here looking at what difference we expect to see as we move forward. And I think the fact that the national institutions have gained so much recognition and acceptance and just better understanding puts us in a much better position to do things that we were not able to do before. The national institutions, like civil society, have had their own issues about the MDGs and how they came about, and issues around consultation, whether they were consulted sufficiently or not. And so this, again, provides an opportunity to do things right as we move forward. Amongst other things that the national institutions have talked about is just not seeing the much consideration of the vulnerable and the marginalized, ensuring community participation in the decision-making, prioritizing human rights in policy choices and resource allocation, and ensuring accountability and remedies to human rights violations. So these are some of the things that we would be looking at and looking to seeing how these different institutions participate. The national institutions, in and of themselves, are governance institutions. The national institutions has a mandate from the country, and that mandate takes into account the needs of the country. The national institution is part of a whole. We are part, for instance, being here, we're part of the region, so we belong to the Africa region, which means that that is another level of reporting. The national institution from the region, as I mentioned, now has the ICC, to which everybody reports and accounts for what they do in the various regions that they belong to. And I think these institutions could contribute significantly to how the MDGs are achieved in the future. In this country, we report on economic and social rights that are provided for in our Constitution. In terms of Section 843 of our Constitution, we are supposed to monitor and report progress on these rights relating to education, the environment, access to health. You know, all these areas that are of critical importance in the MDGs. Now, if there is a reporting mechanism that allows you to see whether you're actually making progress or not, it makes a huge difference, because for a start, it gives enough opportunity for people to be able to see what is not going right and correct what is not going right. And we feel that, for instance, monitoring the economic and social rights in the manner that we are supposed to do goes way beyond what the MDGs have required. So when I talk about the institutions and any other institutions, not just the national human rights institutions, it's very important to look at how those institutions are constituted, and to look at what resources, what capacity the institutions have got to be able to carry out the mandates that they are required to carry. You know, we report to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, and institutions have been reporting to this level for some time, but we saw what happened with what has been termed the Arab Spring. All those countries were reporting to the African Commission on Human and People's Rights, but there is nobody who raised an issue about the fact that, look, there is something wrong that is going on in these countries. So it's important not just to have these institutions, but to look at how these institutions function. Who participates in the ICC? How people are allowed to voice whatever their opinions and actually being able to accommodate people who are dissenters in the manner that these institutions function.